A Crash of Fate by Zoraida Cordova came out just a couple days ago. I would consider it to be largely set apart from the rest of the galaxy far, far away, but it still had some fun Easter eggs and connections to find, mostly from Galaxy's Edge. Today I'll be covering everything I noticed. Of course, many of the locations of Batuu appear in the story, like Oga's Cantina. Characters either drink or mention a number of the items on the menu, including the Fuzzy Tauntaun, Bespin Fizz, Moof Juice, and Carbon Freeze. R3X, the DJ droid, appears in person and on the holo radio many times. Joe Yowza, one of the singers in the Max Rebo band from Return of the Jedi, is said to have left the group and is slated to perform at the cantina. Oga herself is described as a Bluetopian, a new species that has brown skin and a number of pink facial tentacles. Jules, one of the two main characters, used to work at Kat Sokka's farm, which winds up being important to the plot. The surabat grain they grow is mentioned multiple times throughout the book and is the source of Kat Sokka's kettle, the multicolored popcorn for sale at Galaxy's Edge. Jules also takes up side jobs with Dok-Ondar at his antiquities shop. The strange statues outside the front door are described, and one of them is said to have been a former grave marker. Not only is the shop seen, but so are the back rooms that park visitors aren't allowed to enter, which includes safes full of Dok-Ondar's private collection. He and Oga sound like the biggest powers in Black Spire Outpost, people that nobody wants to cross. One of the strange items Doc recently acquired was an old metal tube with the fashioned head of a Zillo beast on either end. The Sarlacc tank is mentioned, which is present at the park and shown in the Galaxy's Edge comic. Savvy and Son Salvage is mentioned a couple times, but there are no references to their secret lightsaber building business. It doesn't sound like even the citizens of Batuu know what's going on in there. Merchant Row, where most of the shopping in Galaxy's Edge takes place, is mentioned, and Beano's creature stall actually appears in one scene where a friend of Jules works. Kowakian monkey lizards and puffer pigs are seen, both of which can be purchased at the park, as well as the sleeping animatronic Lothcat. A Furnock is also seen caged up, creatures that appeared in the first season of Star Wars Rebels. Momongs are seen, also known as Trandoshan monkeys, and they first appeared in the Clone Wars. And finally, a Dokma from the planet Adelon pops up, which also first appeared in Rebels. Docking Bay 7, the restaurant from the park, is the site of a meal in the book, and we get to meet Cookie, the chef. He complains about the First Order destroying his last place of employment, Maz Kanata's castle on Takodana. Bubbo Wamba's milk stand is mentioned, where park visitors can buy blue or green milk. Ronto Roasters, one of the food stalls, is also brought up. A place named in the book called the Wooden Wookiee is probably a stall that didn't actually sell anything at the park, but was set up to display a number of ornate wooden carvings. A location called Smuggler's Alley comes up a few times, but I don't know if it's an actual place you can see at the park or not. Many of the local colloquialisms are used in the book, including bright suns in place of good morning and rising moons in place of good evening. The planet's 3 suns and 2 moons are also mentioned a handful of times, which is funny because we heard about them a lot while we were at the park. May the Spires keep you is their version of a blessing, similar to May the Force be with you. We also learn that Batuuan currency is called Spira. Hondo Ohnaka is mentioned multiple times, but he never actually appears. He's become a source of employment for Batuuans and off-worlders, as it's said he's always looking for freighter pilots. Of course, that plays into the Smuggler's Run ride at the park. Ohnaka Transport Solutions is visited in the book, and it's said to be losing business. The Galma vicinity comes up a few times, and that's a village I only heard about when cast members at the park would tell me about it. It's apparently known as a haven for more hardened criminals. In the months following the events of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, the people of Batuu are unsure of what to think of either side of the conflict. They certainly don't like the presence of the First Order, who, as far as we're told, are simply there to recruit. The Resistance barely appears in the story except for a small battle at the very end, which I believe is meant to be a dramatic version of the events we will see in the Rise of the Resistance ride when it opens at Galaxy's Edge later. The Surabat River Valley is mentioned, and I believe that's where the entrance to that ride is located. There are ruins in that valley in which the Resistance is hiding. Doc has some sandstone wall hangings at the entrance of his shop that are thought to be cut from those very ruins. One of the few Resistance characters that do appear is a Mon Calamari named Lejo. Another Mon Calamari shared that name in the old Star Wars Galaxies MMO, so that might be a reference to him. Jules mentions enjoying watching new arrivals gawk at everything Black Spire Outpost has to offer, their attention quickly bouncing from one site to the next. That has to be a playful jab at all of us who have or will visit Galaxy's Edge. A number of legacy alien species are mentioned to be living on Batuu, and that made me realize that outside of animatronics or the Chewbacca cast member, there weren't any aliens walking around the park. I can totally understand that. The prosthetics and makeup would probably be too much to handle for cast members to do every day, and not to mention the heat, but the book confirms that there are plenty of non-human beings living at Black Spire. One of them is a Carcharodon, the shark-like species introduced in the Clone Wars. They've shown up so rarely, I wanted to mention that. One of Doc Ondar's assistants drives a 74Z speeder bike around Batuu, the same model used by scout troopers in Return of the Jedi. It's mentioned that the assistant's hat magically always stays in place, and I'm probably reaching here, but that was a specific characteristic listed for Indiana Jones, that his hat almost never leaves his head in the heat of the action. Jules talks about how many of his friends enlisted in the New Republic Defense Fleet or the Resistance, similar to the way most of Luke's friends had up and left Tatooine, but I believe this is the first mention of the New Republic Academy. A young man named Nate shows up twice in the story. He doesn't have a huge role, but he seems very interested in the Force. It stands out just enough that I wonder if he'll be the main character in the upcoming book Force Collector as part of the Journey to the Rise of Skywalker line of stories. A member of the Balasar species appears, described as having blue skin. As far as I know, that's the first time we've heard of them having that skin color. The planet Clackdor is mentioned, and I believe that's its first in canon. Ratio is also mentioned as one of the other planets destroyed in the Hosnian system. An XP-38 landspeeder is mentioned, parked outside of Oga's, about to be towed. That model was first mentioned all the way back in A New Hope. And that's everything I caught. If you're interested in reading A Crash of Fate, consider picking it up for free on Audible. Just follow the link in the description or visit www.audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained, where you can sign up for a free trial. That'll get you a credit for one free audiobook, which you can use on A Crash of Fate or just about any Star Wars book you can think of. Or get any book you want. The point is, you'll be getting a free book and you'll be supporting the channel when you do. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.